you remember in Superpowers, we have like the planning phase where Claude writes out the steps, writes out the files that's going to create, and then it actually tests those files before touching any code, right? So it's going to be able to have full context before writing any line of code, right? So that's basically what we're using. So in the last session, we talked about Superpowers, and today we're using Superpowers to build it out. So quick note before we dive in, this is a fresh project, so no existing database. I'm going to be discussing UI layouts, and I can put together mockups and all of this stuff. So the feature that I want is, first, there's going to be the research phase, right? So basically it's going to be researching. And for researching, we're going to be needing last 30 days skills, right? To research in maybe in any industry that we're looking at. So that's the first thing that I want. So I'm going to kind of break that down for the coding agent. And for generations, right, we're going to need a skill for carousels, for texts, right? So we need skills for carousels. And to do that, we actually need like a design.md that we have to follow. So we want to make sure our design stays consistent. Design.md, right? Because we want our designs to stay consistent. Also, for videos, we can use any platform for videos, but I'm going to be using Open Generative AI. I don't know if you guys have heard of it. Oh yeah, Open Generative AI. We're going to also use the Excalidraw skill for the diagrams skills. Excalidraw skills for, let's say, for presentations and, like whiteboard kind of like slides, right? So then for posting, right, I usually use Unipile. I'm also going to take some insight from Krishna and see, what on that platform.
Xerne is way better than Unipile.
Okay.
But yeah,
I mean, check it.
Cool made him have also, you have the great Excalidraw skill. I think it's pretty.
Okay. Yeah. So this version of it.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have it here. Let me take a look at it. Let's see what it looks promising. Okay, cool.
LinkedIn Unipile is probably better.
It has LinkedIn here as well.
Yeah, I think Unipile have some extended things on LinkedIn. On LinkedIn side, it's better, but all the other platforms, I think Xerne is way more superior. Yeah.
But this platform, like, it is built on top of Unipile.
No, it's not. No, it's not. Xerne have their own.
Well, it looks like Vibe got it too. But it's good. It's good for lots of things like Google Ads and those kind of things.
Yeah. Okay. Let me see. So you pay for per account. Okay. Why it feels like Unipile? Because yeah, that's cool. I see.
Yeah, they just changed their pricing. I used to have, I think yesterday they just changed their pricing or something like that. Yeah. But they used to have like some 10 accounts or like 100 accounts. They did totally change their pricing to pay per account. They used to have some extensions and so on, but now they're way better.
Okay, but in terms of hosting, is it like unlimited? Let me see.
Depends. I don't remember exactly. Have unlimited plans. I think if you're annual, I think that's the biggest plan it used to have, but they just changed it. So I don't know how it's currently.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. That's cool. Let's go for it. You're going to send the dog over to the AI so it knows. I think we probably use the CLI reference, but yeah.
They actually have their own agent's reference file. You look into the docs, you can just download it straight from there. Like LLMs, TXT.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Oh, yeah. And open API, yeah.
Interesting.
Okay.
Valuable.
That's actually cool. Okay. So probably you'll just try this one. Yeah. I mean, we're all messing around and playing with stuff until something breaks. So.
And I think it was the account so everybody can follow along. Unipile is paid from day one or day.
Yeah. Okay. If they have a free tier, then that's wonderful. Wonderful.
Actually made my app top of Xerne. I was comparing this pretty hard. I had social media kind of.
When it says just one account, does it mean like one account as in like one Instagram account, then another Facebook account, then another LinkedIn account, etc.? Or is it just like one account global?
One social account.
Oh, okay.
This game is Unipile.
Okay.
Same as Unipy. Yeah, same as
I think on the earlier version, I was able to have way more accounts than it allowed. Yeah, I paid like $20. I had some like 30 accounts or something like that.
Okay, great. So I crossed this stuff called Agent Native. I don't know if anyone has played with it. It looks really good. So I had my eyes on it and I told myself I was going to, use it as the interface, just mess around with it and just do some back and forth. So Agent Native is going to be like the orchestration layer that houses everything, right? It's going to combine the UI and the agent, right? So, and then I think we just get started with this. So the end goal of this is we want to be able to post on social media, Instagram, X, Facebook, YouTube scripts. Want to have YouTube scripts, faceless. Check this out. Faceless videos using Remotion or OpenReels. Yeah, I have to put that option.
Hey, Jen have a pretty awesome tier too, if you wanna.
Yeah, with hyperframes, right? So yeah, so for faceless, you can use hyperframes, but it's open source by Agent.
Yeah, right too.
Remotion, they're actually been rolling out a lot of good things, and then OpenReels. So I'm gonna touch on some of them. So I'm just gonna take a screenshot, right? So basically, this is why I like Excalidraw. I'm able to just like bring out my ideas instead of like prompting back and forth. I'm just gonna take the image here. I'm going back here and I'm pasting it. So I have the image here, and then I can add some of the links so that the agent can also get a couple of them. So this is OpenGen. I use OpenGen a lot to generate like stuff, right? It's like an open source version of Higgsfield, if you know Higgsfield. So I'm just going to take the URL. Okay, so it's going to figure it out itself. The impeccable design is another one for the design.md. So I'm just going to paste everything here. Let's see. Humanizer to humanize the context is another skill for humanizing, like, make it like removing the AI slop from your text. It's actually a really good skill. Yeah, Excalidraw, OpenReel. So this is OpenReel, by the way. I'll just let it roll. So this is OpenReel. Remotion, but you can have longer takes and it's way better, right? I'll probably touch on that more, deserves its own like special class or something. But yeah, advise you guys to take a look at it. So without context, all I've taken is a screenshot from Excalidraw, as well as, I think all of them. Okay, remaining Xerne. Let's take Xerne. Take the docs.lm. Okay, take it down. Get the LinkedIn card. So, okay. This was the website cloner from the first session we had. So it's really handy. So actually the real website and this is the AI clone version. So it gives like a one-to-one like clone in terms of parity and everything. Yeah, stop slop. This is another one. It's a great skill. Remove slop from AI writing. Nice skill that Sabrina, I think Romanov. Yeah. It's a skill she had that I really liked. I think it's in her website. She has a skill pack for content coach. So maybe we could have the platform like, you can actually have discussions with it. So yeah, so these are the skills. So basically I'm just giving the AI context of what I want to build. So it's going to research. I'm just going to like create a plan for me, right? This is a content coach. So we're definitely going to need a content code. Brand brief to create your brief for your brand, post writer, post grader, post scheduler. So just going to give the AI enough context. I think I just need the content coach. Let's see what else. Try to brief. Post grader based on virality. That's a good skill. So basically what I'm doing, right? I'm trying to give as much context to the AI as possible and then see what it comes up with. Right now it's just a brainstorming session. So go through what you can tell me what each does in one description of how it could assist us in building the content. So yeah, and then it goes, right? It's first going to understand my image, right? and all the additional stuff that I added. So basically, I'm trying to create a content studio, right? It's supposed to have an agentic platform where you can have the UI and the agents using that agent native I showed you. Here's a lineup: impeccable design skills, right? Be able to design non-generic UI. Excalidraw, for diagrams, carousel slides, YouTube B-rolls, faceless explainers. Open Generative AI is a self-hosted studio with over 200 image models, right? And there's no render fees, no pre-render fees. On the design layer, same thing. Okay, so video layer, OpenReels, hyperframe, avatar generation videos. Publishing studio, Xerne. We also included Notator because Notator is an alternative. Then agents layer, right? 1 second. I just want to be sure got everything. Okay. Last 30 days, not picked yet. Oh, okay. And I had a feeling I didn't drop that. So give me a second. Last 30 days. Okay, before then, let's just keep that. So it asks me, do you want this to be on the terminal? Do you want this on the UI? So I'm just going to answer the questions. Let's make this. Who is this for? Just me? Yeah, just me. So Superpowers, like I said, is going to do some back and forth to, get all the information we need. So yeah. So project context, offer visual companion, ask clarifying questions. So this is all what Superpowers gives us, right? The skill allows us to be elaborate with whatever we're trying to build. So I think it needs more context with this. So I'm just going to give us this.
Hey, Andy, just thinking, right? That right now the agent that you're building is going to be huge, right? So it's an entire content studio with multiple outputs. So what I'm thinking is that maybe it would be a good idea to separate the agents into different buckets that will take care of specific things.
You like sub agents, right? Like deploying sub agents. Yes, the plan. So Superpowers already does that, right? So yeah, that's definitely, we're not going to just send off one agent to do everything because that's going to take a lot of time. So the idea is once you've been able to spin out the plan and spell out what we want to do, then we dispatch multiple agents to handle each of those verticals, right? Yeah. This is basically it. So last 30 days skills, post the last 30 days of posts, comment, transcript, engagement from Reddit, X, YouTube, just like I mentioned, because I didn't include that that's like the entry point, the trigger, right? Merges them into citation grounded summaries ranked by real engagement. So, right. So it's going to be like the trend and intel layer, right? It's finding like what's really trending, what's being talked about. And then it now feeds that into this other layer, right? Where we have our brand brief, we have the content coach, we have the post writer, the post grader, the humanizer plus stop slop, right? So the humanizer and the stop slop skill are going to be combined together to ensure that whatever content is coming out from me has been, de-slopped, if I could use that word. And then once we've gotten the trend, the intel, we polish up the copywriting, ensure that it follows with our brand brief, our tone, and we remove the slop from it. Then we go to the visual generation part. So the visual generation is going to be handled by impeccable designs. If we're designing like UI, if we're designing diagrams, then Excalidraw is going to handle that. And if we're generating images, right, then we're going to use OpenGen AI for that. If we are doing video generation, then OpenReels is going to handle the edits. Remotion is going to handle the programmatic part of the video, and hyperframes if we want to use like faceless videos and all that stuff. Then Xerne is going to be in the background to post it to IG, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, and LinkedIn. So all of these are going to run inside the agent native web app where the agent and the UI share live states of the same post objects. So this is it. This is the overview of what we're building, and this is how we get started. What's the MVP scope? What must work end to end before you call it done? Text only pipeline first, the brand brief, the trend, the drafts, all of this have to actually work, right? So the text have to actually work. So text post to IG, X, Facebook, image gen, nope, we want everything. Text and static images, well, that works. That covers 80%. But we want to also be able to use Reels. So text, images, and short videos. But at the same time, I'm thinking, I want to be able to demo something, right? So I'm going to go with static images for now, right? Because this is like the first layer. 1 second. So I'll go with that. So this is the first part of Superpowers. This is the planning phase, right? Once we're done with the planning phase, we move into the plan. It's going to create a plan for us, right? So let's keep going. So locked in text and carousels plus images, right? So the next big four, how do posts actually leave the studio? So Xerne is what we're going to use, right? So because I've given it enough context of the tool stack I want to use and everything, he already knows what I want to do. So Xerne is going to handle that. I might have to create an account. Oh yeah. So guys, this is the main part of any build, right? If you go out and you just tell your AI, hey, build this out for me, you're basically going to get something that's not really that great because the AI doesn't have enough context of what you're building. So that's why it's very important that, you do stuff like this. So how should the web app actually execute those skills? I think I want to use Claude Code in the headless mode, right? They have the agent SDK, right? Can implement back-end functions, but I want to use Claude Code in the back-end.
Bro, can you explain this?
So in case anything is strange to you or there's any terminology you're not really used to, the best thing is just use the by the way function. Ask what do you mean by that, right? And that way you're able to get more clarity because that's how you learn, right? You ask the AI, okay, what do you mean by this, right? So, okay, local only means runs on your Mac, right? So everything's running on my Mac. I don't need to deploy it. Then if I want to use a VPS, then that means it's going to run the cloud, right? SDK is like the software development kit for Claude, right? So basically, Claude is asking, how do you want us to build this? Do you want me to build this using our software SDK, like our software stack? So I'm going to build the code and, you're basically going to use Anthropic's API for that, right? And right now, we are using our subscription. So that's why I decided to go with Claude Code's headless version, because for now, the headless version is using the subscription, right? So why I chose that. So the same way Claude is responding to me right now, what is powering Claude is Claude Code, right? It's the same thing that's going to power the system. So whenever my subscription is working, Claude is actively using it for me, basically. Yeah. Okay. Hope you got that out of the way. For static images, posts, IG thumbnails, and stuff like that, generates the back end, right? So Higgsfield, I have the Higgsfield MCP, but I want us to use the self-hosted. Where is it? Wait 1 second. I want to be sure. Great. Okay, great. So I want us to use the Open Generative AI. This one, right? So you have access to models like Vlogs, Midjourney, Sora, VO3, right? Self-hosted. So you actually don't have to pay for Higgsfield or any of those stuff to use this. So yeah. Okay. So yeah, just some back and forth questions. I remember the last session, someone said that the questions are so much when you're dealing with superpowers, but it's actually very needed because some of these things you just can't assume the AI is going to figure out what it's going to do for you. Right? This is what I've locked in so far. The form factor is web app plus the agent. The audience is me. So I'm building for myself. So the MVP scope is text, carousel, and static images. The skill runtime, what is running the skill is Claude Code, the headless version. I think this is what Manoj was talking about. So yeah. Publishing is Xerne. Hosting is local on my Mac. And for the image generation, we're using OpenGen, right? So now there are 3 approaches and it's always going to recommend the best one, right? So I want to assume like for people that don't really know most of the stuff, I'm going to walk through the agent. Like, okay, what am I going to use the approach? So is it a Next.js app that does everything, right? I think this will be good, right? Why? Because it's a single repo. Everything's going to be here. A repo is just a repository. So everything's going to be here. So I could just say, okay, yeah, I want to go this. But the trade-off is if the Next.js server crashes, the scheduler dies with it. And, so it's telling me the pros outcome. Approach B is 2 process splits. So it's going to be using Next.js and Bond. Next.js is the only UI. Separate Bond will process the agent runtime and blah, blah, blah. is still a good idea. Cleaner separation. The UI can hot reload without killing a Claude Code runs. This is actually a good idea. The trade-off is more boilerplate upfront. That means 2 terminals to run, more complex, and all of that. Approach C is the agent native framework. So it's going to use the framework I gave as a foundation. The framework's host point is shared live state between the agent and the UI. So it's going to skip the conventional form and chats pattern. This is most aligned with my diagram. This is what I wanted, right? This is what I wanted for future skills become first class citizens. The trade-off is the framework is new and has not been battle tested that much, right? So I'll be on the bleeding edge of an MVP for the next 3 to 4 months. So it's telling me that I should ship, see the recommendation, right? So ship the MVP with the familiar tech, then port to this for V2. Approach B is the right call only if you start hitting the dev server queued my schedule pane. This is a hard one.
I think we'll go with approach C.
I want to go with C as well.
Yeah,
Because I want I want to test. This is all about experiments. So yeah, guys. Yeah, I'm going with C as well. So guys, you all know what we're building now. So we're trying to build a content studio, right, from scratch. We're using this, right? And I've taken the screenshot. I took all of the links for all of these things and I fed it to Claude. And right now, Claude is coming up with an idea on how to do this. So as you can see, picking C is a statement of intent. So good. It knows I'm serious about this. So going ahead to build it. So we're just going to wait now. So for Claude Code be able to get us like the best platform in its context of everything it's working on. So right now it's fetching the agent native, it's taking the docs, it's trying to understand the key concepts because like I said, it's a very new framework, but I really like it because let me walk you through it. Agent native is building agentic applications that we own, right? So everything from calendar app, as you can see, you can build your own Notion. You can basically replace every SaaS that you've ever used. Right? You can have your own mail. You can have your own forms, right? And these are all templates. Right? They already created templates. They've just come here like this is a Loom. This is like a Loom replacement. I could have just come here and picked maybe one of these ones. This is also for design, right? This is for messaging and dispatch and all of that stuff. There are a lot of templates here, right? But now I want to create my own, right? This is for creating slides, as you can see. It's like an open source AI alternative to PowerPoint and Canva. So if we have an open source alternative to apps, why not build an open source alternative for Context Studio? So that was what hit me. And I was like, you know what? Yeah, try it. Let's see it, right? So that's basically what I'm trying to do without signing up for this. So yeah, just to paint the idea of why we're using this. Okay, why we're using agent native as opposed to every other thing. So yeah, the agent is taking snapshots, trying to understand the documentation. I am just guiding it. Like I told you guys from the onset, that what we are doing is we're telling the AI what to do, guiding the AI, and the AI is doing the heavy lifting, right? So it's done. As you can see, the green light there. Strong tweets confirmed the key facts that shape this design. Now, this is what makes this really good. So Nitro server, React query. So this is the tech stack, right? Define action is the universal abstraction. On division becomes an agent tool, front end. So it's just breaking it down for me. Agent native is bring your own LLM, right? So we're bringing our own LLM. So Claude Code is explicitly listed as a supporting coding agent, which is great. So we can use Claude Code for it. And sync is a 2-second sync polling. If you don't know what any of this means, you can always just copy it and ask Claude to break it down for you. Now the design, I'll go section by section, say okay after each or push back if there's anything off. So this is the architecture right now, right? So the architecture is, this is going to be in the browser. So this is how I'm going to access it, right? This is the URL. And inside, I'm going to have the UI, right? It's going to build the UI for me. The UI, I'm going to have the composer. I'm going to have the calendar for scheduling. I'm going to have the library for all the posts that is going to be created here. And we're going to have the brand brief, which is basically, let's say like a Claude.md or like a Bible, right? Like a brand Bible, right? A single source of truth of what my brand is and all of that. Then it's going to have queries where the agent native actions, which are the skills, are going to exist, which is research topic, draft polls, grade polls, humanized polls, generate image, build carousel, schedule polls, publish now, list posts, update brand brief, because it gets I want to update the brand brief. And then each action is also exposed as an MCP tool. So this is SQL that's just going to handle like every other thing here. So these are the skill workers, right? And the skill workers are going to work each of those skills, like I showed you, right? It's going to run the skills. It's going to use OpenGen in Docker for the images. It's going to use Xerne for posting last 30 days. And then there are schedule workers that, probably go to read the schedule. If there's any post due, it's going to post it. So this is basically the only one that's going to be working online 24/7, right? Just to ensure that if you put anything on the schedule, make sure it posts on that schedule. So as you can see, every 60 seconds, it's going to check, is there anything on the schedule? If there's any post that's due, send it to Xerne and update the status as posted. So skills don't run. So key principles is skills don't run on the request thread. The UI calls a define action, which inserts a run and spawns the Claude process. So basically, it's going to use the action to start the process. So it looks right so far. I can say, yep. And then we move. So I would have just said, you know what, skip all of this stuff, just build a UI, but what happens when something breaks? I have to spend more time like, okay, why is this thing not working? Right. And that's the approach that most people like to go with. They want to just, they want to skip the hard work. They want to skip like the mental part and just go all the way to the UI, just have something really astonishing that maybe they can post online and stuff like that. But this is how you build like real content. This is how you build real things. And I'm glad that I'm using Superpowers because it kind of follows with the trend of the last session, because I stopped at Superpowers and now I'm showing you how I'm using Superpowers to actually build something that matters, right? So as you can see, all I'm just doing is tell the AI, yeah, this is good, keep planning, let's see what's happening, and stuff like that. These are the components, right? There are going to be 8 units. Each one has one purpose, one interface, and one set of dependencies. So on the data layer, right, because all these posts that we're going to generate, we're going to need a place to save them, right? So the data layer is telling us to use Drizzle, right? So this is going to be the single source of truth for all persistent data. So for every data that we have, like the brand brief that we're going to create, our posts, our drafts, our media, the schedule, the dates that we want them to run, and all the runs. So that's the data layer. So for the action layer, right, we have action brand, which is to read and update your brand. We have the action for research, which is going to pull last 30 days. We have action of drafts, which is going to generate a post with a draft. And then we now decide to like publish it. The grading task, which is going to score the draft from 0 to 10. We have the humanized wrap, which strips all the AI tells from all those, like, the M dashes, the revolutionize and all of that stuff. Action image generates the image. Action carousels renders maybe 8 carousels, 10 carousels, and uses impeccable to style it. The schedule, right, which is going to put them on queue. Sometimes you might want to cancel the schedule, it cancels or reschedules the post. And then action publish, which ships the post now or, puts it in the schedule with Xerne, right? So all of this stuff was possible because I was able to bring out my ideas. I was able to pin all my ideas here and not just leave it here for the AI to figure out. Because if I only took just the screenshot, the AI will be like, okay, what do you mean by last 30 days? What do you mean by Excalidraw? What do you mean by this? So I had to manually hunt for the tech stack, right? Hunt for everything I want to use. I want to use this skill. I want to use humanizer. So I had to handpick. So this is where, like, you now take your skills to the next level. The platform is basically just going to be a collection of all the skills that you like to use on a day-to-day. And then you just slap a nice UI on there and you connect it to an agent that runs it for you in the background. So that's basically and that's the future of platforms. If you're able to just get the concept of what I'm trying to do, you can build anything, guys. You can actually build anything. So now at this point, like, the limit is just your imagination. And this is as easy as it gets. So the worker layer, so this is the worker. The worker runs the skills. It spawns the Claude session that I was telling you. The scheduler, it runs every 60 seconds, finds the scheduled roles. If there's anyone due in the next 60 seconds, it's called the publish to publish it. And then the last layer, the UI layer. This is what most people run and go and build first, right? They skip the worker layer, they skip the action layer, they skip the data layer, which is the most important layer, right? And then when stuff start to break, they think the AI is like not doing its job right. But if we're able to get all of this in our first shots of planning, every other thing just makes sense. So composer, right? It's going to be 3 columns. On the left is going to be my brand context plus the research panel. The center is going to be platform tabs with their drafts and media slots. And on the right is going to be the agent activity. Now, I can always change the UI to what I want, right? But for now, I'm just going to go with what the AI has already defined. And then down the line, I can refine the UI because this is something I'm building for myself. Right? This is something I'm building for my taste. Eventually, I can say, okay, I want to maybe have a bigger button. I want something else in the UI. But the composer is fine. I think it's foundational. The calendar, so I can see every week and month view on the schedule table. I would like to be seeing my calendar and say, okay, from the 1st to the 3rd, I'm posting this and this and this. I can just see everything. It's just very convenient, right? And then the library. So it's going to have the media browser where I can see the images, the generated images, the carousels before I post them, right? And also with filters. Then the brand brief editor. So I can always edit my brand brief, directly in the app. And then there's a 6-question wizard for the first run. So because I'm running the brand brief for the first time, there's going to be a kind of onboarding wizard on my first run. So external clients, Claude, right? For the spawner. Okay, open generative AI. Okay, the HTTP. Okay. This is for generating the images. This is Claude. And this is Xerne that's going to publish. So 2 boundary calls. This matches 1 job per unit. Actions are the only thing the UI and agent talk to. Workers and agents are implementation details behind those actions. Looks right? Yep. Oh. If there's anything I don't like, I'll definitely change it, but it's looking good so far because I am the one that gave it the context. All of this stuff is also being saved. It's also being documented. So I can keep track of everything. This is amazing, guys. This is really amazing. This is really amazing. Okay. So I can still go ahead and explain it. So data flow is just walking me through how everything's working. And sometimes this is really easy for me to read, but sometimes this is what I do. I can just take data flow like this. I can just take this, copy, head over to Claude and say, hey, Claude, can you create a HTML version of this, make it understandable? Or I can say PDF, HTML or PDF. And then, oh, will you look at that? I've almost exceeded my weekly limit of my max plan. So that happens. I've been really heavy on Claude lately. I've been building a lot of stuff. So just in case. So this is in case, right? Or let's say you want to kind of pour out your idea or you want to show someone or you want to discuss this with someone and you don't want to start going to open Claude and, resuming the conversation just so that you can walk them through here. I would take this, I would go over to Claude and I'll tell Claude to create an HTML version. It's a very more beautiful way to kind of express yourself, express your ideas, express the output of Claude, right? And in fact, you can do it for every single output that Claude gives, right? I can also take for the data layer and ask Claude, okay, visually, show me this visually, right? Make this better for me. I could also say it here, right? But the reason I am using the Claude itself is because with Claude, they have artifacts, right? With the artifacts, once it's done generating, I can just take a look at it on the side, right? It's all going to make sense once this is done, right? So it's on flow 4, as you can see. So I think it's on the last. So there are 4 flows. I'm going to explain the flow from when a user when the user opens this on the browser, because this is my first run. This is the first time I'm running it and how everything works. All right. So just like I told you, I'm going to open it in Arc. Okay. So you see, this is more visually appealing than, going through, and it also breaks it down better. So data flows. So 4 flows cover everything. So the first run, this runs once when a new user opens the app. It walks them through a short brand brief and unlocks the rest of the system. So I open the app, and it triggers this. There's no brand found. It redirects to the wizard. So if there's no brand brief row that exists in the database, if it's empty, then it's going to ask me to answer 6 questions. So based on the 6 questions, it's going to now create my brand brief, right? My answers will be saved in the database and the disk. And then all other features will be unlocked. So once the brand brief is in place, the composer, the scheduler, the calendar, and the agent flow all become available, right? So this is now the compose and schedule part, the main day-to-day workflow. So me, the human, opens a composer, I enter a topic. It could be any topic at all, right? And with the last 30-day queue, the system is going to research, it's going to draft posts, and it's going to grade those posts and polish them, generates visuals, and queues them as a post, all from one screen, right? So like, let's say I type something like AI modes in 2026. When I click on research, it's going to create a run row, right? And the skill runner is going to spawn the Claude process with the last 30-day skill, right? The result comes back as summaries, hooks, sources, and the UI, is going to pull every 2 seconds and render it. Once that have been done, once I click draft for IG, X, or Facebook, it's going to run 3 parallel runs in a row, right? So it's going to spawn the post writer to write the post about it, right? So it's going to write a draft with the hook, the body, the CTA, and the quality score. So not only is it going to write a perfect, post with Sabrina's skill and all of those other skills that we're able to find, it's also going to grade it, right? So this is going to work also. If I click on grade, it's going to humanize it. So each draft is automatically graded. If the grade is lower than 8, the grader returns a rewrite suggestion and the user picks, the best suggestion. Once I'm satisfied, I click generate hero image, which is going to send the prompt plus the aspect ratio and into the local image generator, which is going to be there. Once I'm done, I can click carousels from outline and going to create like 9 carousels. So this is crazy. And then I can also schedule for a particular time. So that's flow 2, right? So I've actually touched on 2 of the flows. The third flow is the scheduled publish. So this runs silently in the background every 30 seconds, no humans input needed. It checks for posts that are due and publishes them automatically. So the scheduler ticks every 90 seconds. So call it the heartbeat if you're familiar with, all those type of terminologies. So every 60 seconds, it's going to go in a loop, check if there's any scheduled posts that are due. So this is how it does it. So it's just showing us the code it runs, right? It just runs this, right? Once it's done, so it's going to mark it as publishing, send it to Xerne. Once Xerne handles it, it's going to show success or error, right? So now this is the best part. So we have the agent-driven version through Claude Code. So instead of clicking through the UI and all of that, or a developer, right? Claude can actually drive the whole system from natural language. So instead of like clicking generate image, do this, do that from all these 3 flows, I can actually just tell the agent, pull the last 30 days on AI modes and draft 3 IG posts for Friday, right? So that is now translated to this. So it's automatically going to call the research topic. It's automatically going to draft the post. It's automatically going to queue it for Friday. Same DB writes, same database writes, everything. So this is basically how it works, right? I showed you, sometimes I want to water it down because seeing all of this, sometimes you can be like, okay, what does draft this? What does it mean, right? So that's another hack. Especially for people that are not really familiar with, most of these terminologies. You can just copy it from there, come to the Claude that and ask it, okay, can you explain this thing for me? Can you help me out with this and stuff like that? So 2 things worth flagging. The run table is the universal log. Every skill invocation, the agent activity is literally this. The UI and Claude-driven identical parts, no API for agents versus API for human splits, blah, blah, blah. Does this look right? I can also take this, send it to the Claude, but I want to assume that maybe you didn't get that. Ask Claude, what does this mean? And let's see what it will say. Okay. It means the system is policies and principles. One table rules everything. Every time anything runs, everything is logged, on the run. So it's just explaining that part. So when you're watching activity happen live in the browser, you're watching the database, right? So one action definition, blah, blah, blah. There's no human API and there's no split. Why this matters? You can't have drift between those and what the agent does. They have to be the same thing, yes. So it's either I'm using the same settings, the same, flow, or the agent is using the same flow, So it's a real solid architecture. Most system build agents on as an afterthought, but we are building this platform with the agents as the first thought, right? So yeah, everything looks good. I'll just say yep. So this is also good because it kind of allows you to understand what you're building, right? From the scratch. I would advise anyone that probably doesn't even know how things work to go through this route because it gets easier over time. Your brain starts to pick up things. You start to understand things. So we've moved from, so you started from the architecture. So it asks a couple questions. What do you want to use for this? What do you want to use for that? Answer the question. It gave me the architecture. I was good with the architecture. It showed me each individual components. I was also good with that. It shows me how data is going to be flowing. I'm also cool with that. Now it shows me error handling. So if there's any error, how do we show this? If there are any failures, how do we show this? Can you guys still see my screen, by the way? I want to be sure that you're with me. You can see my screen, right? You guys can see my screen, right? Don't send a reaction or anything. Just need to be sure that it's going. Awesome. Great. Okay. So for those of you that just joined, I've been a content studio. How did I start? I started by pointing out like my idea in Excalidraw, right? I put what I wanted, all my research, all the skills I've seen online. And then I took a screenshot of this. You could even make it more detailed than me. I'm just trying to go with the flow. And I also took every URL that I could find. So we're using Xerne, which was recommended by one of us here, Krishna. So he recommended this platform, Xerne. It's actually really cool. Social media posting APIs for developers. So this actually makes sense because they have a section for AI. They have a section where the AI can actually just read. So this website is for us. The LLMs.txt is for the AI, right? So I took it. And with this platform, you can post on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Pinterest, all of them, right? Snapchat, even WhatsApp and Discord. So we don't need to bother ourselves with all the code, remember? We don't need to write a single line of code. Claude is going to do that. But what we need to do is that we need to guide Claude on everything that, comprises this application. So yeah, back to what I was saying. So now, error handling, failure mode. So failure modes, where they happen and the rule. So let's say there's a failure with Claude Code and maybe it crashes or it times out. What's the rule? There's going to be a 5-minute timeout per run, right? So if the status is failure of any of this thing, there's no retry. So it's basically just writing rules for each failure. So when any of this failure happens, what happens, right? So this is what makes Superpowers very accurate because not only does it plan the build, it also plans for the errors, right? So if the grade is lower than 8, just return rewrite arrays. The UI shows score 6 and user picks to edit or, edit manually. So all of this stuff, right? So if OpenGen is down or is slow, there's going to be a 90 seconds timeout, one retry. So what happens if it's not able to generate within 90 seconds, you're going to do one more retry. If there's persistent failure, then it's going to say the media status is failed. And the image slots in the UI shows red placeholder with retry button. So if it doesn't work, you're going to see a red UI with a retry button, okay? If Xerne publish fails, let's say Xerne is not able to publish it, right? Inspect the status. If the status is 401, then this. If the status is 429, then this. So basically just explaining things. If the SQL is locked or busy, this is what you do. If last 30 days sources is down, the UI shows got results from 4/7 sources because there are more than 7. There are like 7 sources there. But if some sources are down, let's say Reddit is down or X is down, the skill itself will handle it. And then it will return showing that, oh, we got this result from just 4 sources or just 5 sources, basically. So the Superpower skill has gone ahead to think about all the possible failures and how to handle them, right? So 2 design rules underneath all of this. So this is the rule underneath everything. Every failure has a rule. So be it a run failure, a media failure, scheduling failure, nothing fails silently, right? So everything that fails, we can actually track it, right? And there's no magic retries. The only scheduler retries because publishing has a deadline, right? Every other thing that doesn't have a deadline. So it's not going to retry it, right? Everything else is fail loudly, let the user retry. So if there's anything that failed, I'm going to see it on the UI. But if the scheduler fails, it's going to do a retry, right? Because the operations are slow, expensive, non-deterministic, and silent retries waste tokens. So we're going to make sure that nothing fails silently and stays silently, right? There's nothing going to retry behind the scenes, except on the scheduler. All right, looks right. Say yep again. Okay. So I've answered all the questions for error handling, for data flow, for data layer, and for the architecture, right? It's true. I would also like to have the architectural diagram. So I'm just going to tell my Claude, I'll build an architectural flow for this as well. And this time I wanted to use a bright thing, like Control-Pix color thing. The testing layer, right? So the strategy is actions are pure logic over the database plus clients. So we need to test these, right? We need to test some of these ideas. So skills are LLM bound. So we're going to smoke test the pipeline, right? So this is basically what we want to test. We want to test the actions units, right? So we want to run every defined action, right? To see if it works. We want to do the skill runner. We want to actually try the skill runner to see if it works. We want to try the workers to see if it works. We want to try the carousel render to see if it works, right? We also want to try Xerne and Ogai as open generation AI. And then the UI, we want to ensure that the brand brief wizard works, the composer schedules a post, right? And the calendar shows the status update. So all of this are like the checklists that we have to ensure that it works, right? And then end-to-end manual. So I will now have to maybe make my first few real publishes, right? I have to make sure they are watched and not automated. So manual is fine for solo. So basically, I'm also part of the testing layer. So I have to test it. So what I'm explicitly not testing is not going to test the exact LLM outputs, right? It's not going to test OpenAI or Xerne against the real endpoints. It's not going to actually make the real calls. It's going to make mock calls, right? So I'm not going to be spending any credit or any data right now. The visual difference of carousels and the format, the count, and the dimension is enough, right? So I can ask you, what do you mean by, what do you mean by this? Let me ask you. Before you write this, what do you mean by this? Because I want to understand what it's not testing and stuff like that, okay? And then the quality gates. Remember when we talked about superpowers, they have gates that once a role is not satisfied, or once we have something that maybe a metric or something, it's going to send it back, right? So a draft cannot be scheduled if the grade score is lesser than 8, right? So that's one of the gates. And no rewrites was accepted, right? Cannot post that. Humanize is important, right? Running it twice on the same input produces the same output, right? So scheduler never publishes a post older than its missed window. So if it missed the window, it can't post it, right? It has to post it at this exact time when it was scheduled. And every run row reaches the terminal states, which is completed, failed, or timed out within 5 minutes, right? We're not going to leave the running row like eternal, right? It's not going to be pending eternally. So after 5 minutes, if it's not completed, and it's not failed, then it's timed out. So these are the hard quality gates, right? So we have to ensure that it's foolproof, right? I asked you to explain all of this. So good. These are the 3 different, we accept eyeballs over automation here. So it's not going to check the exact LLM output. So it explains what it means, right? Real endpoints, the test actually hits Xerne, right? It's not going to do that. It's going to create mock, right? Like fake entries, right? Because Xerne publishes cost money and it's going to count against our plan or whatever. And we don't want to be like sending our tests out to IG, right? Visual deeping is going to take a screenshot of slide 1, compared pixel by pixel to a stored golden image. Okay, great. So this is how you are able to explain it. And if you don't still understand it or you want it to break it down, you can always take it back and put it back. So now it's going to write the spec. So if I agree with everything, it's now going to write the spec. The spec is the document that is now going to be used to create this platform, right? So we went from the brainstorming section to the design of the architecture section, right? And all of these are like high level stuff. But now when we're going to the spec, we're actually building the actual product. Like the spec. So once we are done writing the spec, just like Ravi hinted, the AI is going to create spawns of agents. It's going to create different sub agents, each with their own context window, and let them run and build this out for us. So it's writing the spec. While it's doing that, I can also just go and check what Claude built. So this is the architecture. This is how I'm able to mix the terminal and the front end, just so that I can get better understanding of what we're building. Right? I already touched on this already, guys, but yeah, I'm just going to show it again. This is how it all fits together. So there are two principles. One, define action, 4 surfaces, 1 database, no split path. So the skills run off the request thread. So this is the function, right? So it's explaining it. So this action inserts a run rule that spawns a Claude Code sub-process. And all of this stuff happens in the background. 1 action, 4 surfaces, right? So it's just breaking it down layer by layer. So this is my browser. Let's assume this is my browser, right? This is the URL. To have the post that handles the topic, collects the topic from me, does the research, writes the draft, and schedules it. Now, the calendar is where I can see the scheduled and published posts. The library is where I can see the drafts, I can see the media, and I can see the past posts. The brand brief is a one-time setup wizard that all my posts are going to come out from, right? So this is the simple part. This is what you can understand. Then we go into the slightly technical part. So this is the agent native layer. This is the action layer. And each defined action becomes all 4 surfaces simultaneously. So these are all the skills that I showed you, right? So these are the background workers. These are the workers that are doing everything behind the scenes. So the skill worker uses all the skills that we meant hunting to, to research a topic, to draft the post, to create the post, humanize, and all of that. The other one is just the scheduler, right? It just watches the calendar to see if there's anything on our schedule and it makes the post. Then these are our external services. Claude Code is going to run the sub-process per skill. It's going to run the research and all of that stuff. OpenGen AI is what is generating the images. Xerne is what is publishing to Instagram and all these platforms. And last 30 days is what is pulling the research. I hope it's all coming together, guys. Like as we are using this also helps to visualize and explain what we want to build. So these are the key insights. The runs are in a universal log. So every skill that is invoked, every skill that's being run, it writes it here. So we can see everything that happened before we go to our final output. No thread blocking and UI, anything you're seeing on the UI is just a mirror of what's in the database. So yeah, this was the good. So it's a good flow. So that's how I'm able to, be able to visualize some of this stuff. Because yeah, I know sometimes when you're just looking at it, write code, remove code, and all of that stuff, sometimes you need to see it more visually. So like the brain can register it. So that's why I do it this way. I always do it this way. Sometimes if I'm building something and Claude asks me like, what do I think of this? And I'm not really sure what it's asking me. I'm just going to copy the entire thing, send it over here and say, hey, Claude, I'm building something. This is the output I got from Claude Code that's actually coding it. I want you to act as my partner, right? I want you to act as my architect. Tell me how to fix this. Tell me how we can get this sorted out. And then Claude is going to be like, okay, send this prompt back to Claude Code, right? Okay, Claude, do this and do that. And I take the prompt here and I go back and I just dump it here. So that's how we can use 2 Claude instances. One, I suggest this approach for people that are not as technical. If anything, but you're going to just be, it depends on your rig limits, right? Because they're all going to count as, messages, right? But that way you're able to be the person in the middle, but you're just communicating back and forth. I need to set this here. Sometimes I even do it like this, right? I'm giving you guys like everything, showing you guys everything I do, like, because I told you 0 gatekeeping here. So sometimes, by the way, if you're curious what I'm using, this is Warp. You can download Warp here. Warp is a very, because I'm sure some of you might be wondering, why are you not using anti-gravity anymore? I'm an anti-gravity person. Yes, I do like anti-gravity, but sometimes I like using other platforms. Oh no, it's got them wrong. Yes, Warp. Warp.dev. So this is warp.dev. This is actually how it looks like. This is the actual UI, right? The dark interface. But being an Anthropic boy that I am, I had to stick to my team, right? So yeah, Warp existed even before the days of Claude Code and Codex. It was one of the first agentic development environments, right? And they had their own really nice thing going on. So yeah, really solid platform if you want to have the experience having, right? And what I like most about it is that I can also switch through different projects, right? So sometimes I might be building something here, I just run Claude. I'm building something here with Claude, building something here with Claude. So that's basically how it is. So I can have different sessions, than just being on one terminal on anti-gravity. And sometimes anti-gravity can be really slow, Anyways, so this is how I normally would do it. Let me just take this out. This is my coder on my right-hand side doing the coding, and this is my brainstorm partner, right? So I would usually, what do you think about this? Check this out here. Give me a prompt to send to Claude. Then it sends the prompt and I paste the prompt here. So I just go back and forth. If I get something like the diagram that I just showed you guys and I want to visualize it, I copy it and I send it here, back and forth. And that's how I'm able to accomplish all of this, right? So yeah, the spec has been written. Let's take a look at the spec. I'm going to take this back to full screen so we can take a look at the spec. So the spec is basically document that the Claude Code is going to be using to build out what we want. So look at the spec here. So it's a local single user web app for drafting, scheduling, and publishing, right? Exactly what I wanted. It's built on Agent Native, right? The skills are authored as Claude Skills, exactly. Executes via Claude-print and sub-process. So this is what I can even take to another builder, right? I can even take just this into another Claude session, right? This is the end goal of everything we've been trying to build, right? So images come from a locally hosted OpenGen AI instance. Publishing goes through Xerne API. So this is the goal. Take a topic to a scheduled on-brand post in under 5 minutes of human time. So in under 5 minutes, we take a post, we generate the post, and we schedule it. And that's the goal. That's exactly what I want. Every step from the research to the draft, to the grade, to the humanize, the image, the schedule, and the publish lives in one DB and one local process tree. The UI and Claude Code session driving the studio via MCP, right? We hit the same identical path. And there was a post I saw the other day that the next million users, right, is going to be AI agents, right? Like we humans using the internet, right? I think we've reached our last post stop. Like moving forward, the next 1 million, 10 million of users on the internet are going to be agents. Agents are going to be surfing the internet. Agents are going to be shopping on our behalf. Agents are going to basically be running everything on the internet. So it is smart that you're building anything you're building. You're also building for the other user, which is AI agents, right? So brand voice, last 30 days, trend, and the AI tail stripping are applied to every post. So every post will have the brand voice. Every post comes from the last 30 days, the trend intel, and every post has the AI tail stripping. So we are removing the AI slop, right? I like how AI didn't call it slop, AI tail. Okay. Now, non-goals. These are not our goals. This is not a multi-user platform. We're not adding authentication because I was trying to ensure that I'm building this studio to show you guys how to build things, right? I'm not building this because I want to be logging in like a user every time I'm coming, right? So we're not doing multiple users, just me. No authentication. That means no signing in, no building auth layer, all of that stuff. No billing, no pricing, no multi-tenants, right? So all of this will have demanded more build time, more complications, more platforms. But now I can build something that I can build a full software, a full tool on my computer. So I don't need to pay for any other platform. I don't need to pay for subscriptions. I have everything on my system. So I'm not also building now at the moment for YouTube long form. I'm not building for TikTok. Whoa, LinkedIn. LinkedIn is supposed to be there. I'm going to put LinkedIn back. Threads, Blue Sky, this is for version 2. Okay, it divided to version 2, right? The Xerne account supports them, but the UI doesn't. Then video generation, right? Because yes, I remember I wanted to keep this as short as possible, but there's going to be a version 2. We're going to definitely do a version 2 where we're going to touch on Remotion. We're going to touch on HeyGen. We're going to create avatar videos. We're going to create OpenReels, right? Like I said, avatar talking head videos, that's going to be in version 2. Then cloud deployment, CI/CD, hosted scheduling. We're going to do that later. Right now, my computer is the host. And then all of this stuff, right? We're going to do that later. So let's just make version 1 very simple and be able to generate our first stuff. So as you can see over here, is a 14th section. I'm not going to be going over the 14th section, but I'm taking my time to go over some of the things we already know. But I have to review it and let him know if I want to make any changes before writing out the implementation plan. So I'll just go through. We already know the architecture. We visualized it already. We visualized the component, but this is it again. So it explains everything, right? Action layer, workers layer, UI layer. So that's a good part of following in the brainstorm session. Because I've been able to go through the brainstorm session, I can explain this app or what I'm trying to build to anybody, right? That's why I'm able to breeze through all of this part because we already know everything. We've been able to visualize it. The first run setup, if there's no brand brief, you redirect to the wizard. The wizard asks 6 questions, it updates the brand brief, and then, it writes the brand brief to the role, unlocks other actions. Compose, same thing. If you click research, it's going to use the last 30 days. If you click draft, it's going to create for the platform. The grade is below 8, it's going to rewrite it. It's going to generate the image, and all of that stuff. If you click schedule, it's going to schedule it. Okay. Error handling, we already touched on error handling, right? So what else are we doing? Testing, talked about testing. External integrations, talked about external integrations. Xerne, we talked about Xerne. Last 30 days, great. So these are the skill inventories. This is what each skill does, right? Talked about each of the skills. Excalidraw, impeccable for the design, content coach, right? Optional guided mode. There's going to be a guided mode in the UI. So if I don't really know what to do, the guided mode is going to help me. Okay. Start decision. So I'm using agentic native, right? So I'm also going to show you the part. Yeah. So the hosting part and stuff like that. Out of scope, you can see. And now these are the open risk, right? So agent native maturity. So the AI is saying, okay, this is new, right? Single locality for given environment, but expect to file framework issues, litigation, keep the action surface small, blah, 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 because if I was using a framework that maybe had 100K stars, it would be more confident, but it's just saying that this is just a risk. Claude Code process brittleness, long running, expensive, non-deterministic. It's just, these are things that have to be open on, right? Open Gen AI on Apple Silicon, right? So Xerne API limits, the plan choice affects the monthly publishing. Yeah, that's fine. Scheduling reliability. If the Mac sleeps, or if I turn off my Mac, it's not going to be able to catch it. So long sleep overnight, need either caffeinate or accept missed publishing banners on wake. So it's just showing me some things that I have to just be open to, right? Open risk, because this is running on my local machine. I'm not running this on the cloud where the scheduler is always going to be on. So it's just letting me know that. It's also letting me know that my cost, right? So it's going to be a cost for everything. So if my limits is expired or it's done, I can't make any post. Then OpenGen AI allows for local models, right? So just like we have Kling, we have Nano Banana, there's also generation models that you can download locally on your system. And those would actually need a lot of GPU, right? So you have to have a lot of GPU to support that. That's if you want to have a local hosted model. But for OpenGen, I'm going to use the API. So I'm going to be using the cloud. So no need to worry for that. So yeah, just some things to keep in mind. So then it also milestone. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I have one thing.
Okay.
For database, can we use DuckDB? It's a local database, and there is a cloud version, Mother DB, and it's specifically for agents. So it can write queries inside your database. You can use that database for CRM. So you can extend the same application but Claude can use that database for more things. No, like for anything.
Okay. So DocDB, right?
Yeah.
So DocDB. Yeah. So anytime you want to integrate something or you want to try something, what's the second one that you asked?
that was MotherDB. That's the like cloud version of it, and this can be in sync with your local version. So that's why it's local and cloud both. MotherDB, bro. MotherDB, MotherDuck. Yeah, MotherDuck.
Okay. Mother Doc.
That just sounds so wrong.
Okay. This one, right?
Yeah. So this is for the. I'm using
Yeah.
both now. So for
Okay. So I'm gonna tell Claude,
yes,
hey,
that's why I just wanna.
DocDB, this is MotherDB.
Yeah.
How do you think we can use this for our platform? Right?
Yes.
Because it asked me that, where is it at?
Ask for reason something. I
Yeah,
didn't
next week and let me know if there's any change or anything that needs to be
Yeah,
done.
that's
So,
where I interrupted here.
yeah, take a look at these DBs.
They're not basically a SUPA-based alternative.
Yeah, I actually agree. So right now,
For analytics, like if your data grows, you need analytics, right? So
yes,
these
exactly.
tools are for analytics, AI analytics. Yeah. Sorry. Continue.
Yeah, definitely. How they can be useful. Manoj, I think the next session you're going to handle the build because you just keep popping up all this interesting. I know I've heard of DocDB. I know about DocDB.
Like I'm
But
using
what
it, right? That's why.
is a new one.
You
So
need just new table in my database. So good to have a database which is you can expand to other builds also.
yeah, definitely. So based on the plan, it's not going to tell me, okay, maybe we're going to build this in V2 or maybe, stuff like that. So I'm just going to let it.
I want to see
Okay.
that. Like I just want to
Yeah.
see how I'm gonna use it.
All right, let's go. Let's go. Give me a second, guys. Just want to get water. It's dehydrated. I've been talking for a bit. Yeah. So where's that? Okay. So let's see what comes up with. So checking it. I'm going to close this one now. All right. Okay. And let's see. So short version, yes, useful, but not as a replacement. Use SQLite as primary, DocDB as the analytics sidecar. Okay, you mentioned something about the analytics. So this is actually great. Why DocDB is the wrong primary? Okay, so it's not the primary,
Yes.
more of an analytics. So DocDB is explicitly OLAP, right? That's columnar and analytics scans over large data. Your part is OLTP, which is 2 seconds polling for the status, and the textbook SQLite WLs. Also, DocDB only allows concurrent writers within one process. With file logs across processes, your Nitro server plus tax runner plus scheduler all want to write. So SQLite handles this natively. DocDB will log them out of each other. Okay, because it only allows concurrent writes within one process, right? Because we're going to be writing from 3 different places. So
yeah,
why
because that's why.
yes, why DocDB is as great as a sidecar. You can attach SQLite file read only and query directly. So
Yes,
yeah.
that's how they use it.
Yeah. So look at the advantage. Which hook templates cost highest over 200 plus drafts? Then it has a way to present it. But SQLite needs ugly subqueries. Okay, so I get that. Okay, so you can use.
We might not need it because let's say if your analytics are so huge, you are let's say
Yeah.
those kind of
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
now,
Yeah. Okay, so mother doc. Okay, it's the serverless DocDB as a service. Okay, but just like as a service, right? Okay, with a hybrid execution model. Okay, you want this if you go multi-device, you want cloud backups, or you want to share dashboards. Okay, but V1 is specifically locally hosted on my Mac, and all of that stuff. So I think that's why it's none of those are V1 problems. Yeah, but yeah,
basically Spec I lost my job here because this is what I do as a product manager.
Yeah, okay. So, but I like what he came up with, right? Concrete integration to your spec, add a small analytics layer alongside QLite. So my UI can get an analytics page. That once I click the page, right, the action layer stays unchanged, right? So I think no drizzle for DocDB, one more dependency, okay, I think I like it. Add this analytics sidecar so I can actually see how many likes, how many comments. Stuff like that.
And from different, like you can have one central dashboard for all your socials, like LinkedIn, X, YouTube, Insta. You're pulling information into one thing. I see, like it looks like this to me, but maybe not.
Yeah, I like the concept of that. Okay, tell you what, I am going to add the analytics sidecar to the design spec. Yes. Well, good one. So it's just going to now review it and make some adjustments.
Can I have a side question? Like here, I see
Okay.
your context is just 14%. What are you using, bro? How it can?
Oh, it's in the 1 million context. So the 14% is 100K already. Okay.
We have gone through lots. Oh, we didn't provide any context like second brain kind of things.
Yes.
When I just start a session, it shows 5% because it's load all the skills and those kind of things.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why the 14. If I worked for an hour on my cloud, it will be like 80% Wi-Fi.
Yeah. So when the context is going to be filled and when the tokens are going to be maximized, is when it's time for the implementation, right? Because if you remember, all that we've been doing is just planning,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Once we click the big red button, that's when every shit goes down. So it's just making some changes, updating it, right, guys? So everything still looks really solid to me. It just
Yes.
added analytics sidecar, DB, right? Okay, cool.
It's solid, bro. It's solid.
Yeah, so I don't know if the person that made that comment is here, but this is what Superpowers is meant for. If I wanted to just do something, maybe I just wanted to create something for like prototype, I'll probably not use this. I'll probably use maybe another skill. But because I want to keep using this same content studio for years, right? I'm going to actually be using this moving forward from next month once I'm done building it, right? I'm just going to keep refining it and making it better. I might even open a YouTube page, right? To create some of the YouTube contents and stuff like that. So I really see this as something I want to really take my time to nail it on the first goal. So I don't want to be coming back and forth. So that's why Superpowers is actually one of the best. And by the way, let me walk you guys through Superpowers so you check it out a little bit because you need to know what the tool is all about. As you can see, 193K stars. That doesn't tell you something. I don't know what it will. And these are one of like the most renowned. You see, Claude is a part of the contributors, and most of these people plus 18 more, they're actually one of the best. And most of the senior software engineers in this space, they all contribute to this like every single time, right? So this is Superpowers, right? Just to show you everything. So they have the brainstorming session, writing plans, executing plans, dispatching parallel agents, requesting code review, receiving code review, using gate trees, all of this stuff, right? Writing skills, you can write skills. You can even have a skill called using superpowers. So basically how it works, right? So we've done the brainstorm session, we have written the plans. This is the next part we're going to, and then this part, and then reviewing the code, and then finally checking it out. So if you want to install it on your Claude Code, I think that you just take this, copy, paste it, and run it. So it's a complete software development methodology for your coding agents, right? Because most times people just turn Claude Code to just developer, just code. But in the software development lifecycle, it starts with the idea, breaking down the idea, and all of that stuff. So we don't want to skip all of that and just go straight into coding, right? So that is why this exists. So yeah, knock yourselves out. If you want to, just check /superpowers and get it. Then the next one that's really, really going away is GSD. Get Shit Done. Probably use Get Shit Done in another build. Get Shit Done is also good with 62K stars, right? And it's more of a lightweight version. So this is Get Shit Done. Sort of like what we're already using, right? So I'm a solo developer. I don't write code. Claude Code does, right? So it's like a spec-driven version. You can discuss with Claude Code, talk about your roadmap. You can plan as well. You can execute, you can verify, and all of that stuff. But what makes Superpowers like a beast is that Superpowers will put into context and consideration your errors, edge cases, and a lot of stuff. But what makes Get Shit Done shine is that this context works against context blocks, right? It helps maintain context by cleaning and by doing the heavy work in fresh sub agents. And Superpowers also does that. So basically, for those of you that maybe I need to explain this a little bit more.
So hang on a second. In terms of like superpowers, I've seen superpowers before, but I've only just copied specific skills from superpowers. Are you saying that you just download the entire repo to your agent?
Yes, you install it as a skill. So in this session that you are part of, this is how you just install it. You install it from the marketplace, right? And then you have it as a skill. So if I open my Claude right now, it's already done. But if I do // superpowers, you see all the skills here. The one here is the one that we're using, brainstorming. Writing plans was the one that wrote the plans. I can also write skills. I can execute plans. So they all come from that repo. Everything you're looking at right now comes from superpowers, right? And then there's the skill creator. We touch on the skill creator.
Hang on a second, listen. Are you installing this in terms of like your global Claude Code? Wouldn't that,
My local Claude Code, yeah, exactly.
but won't that like increase your token usage?
No. So how skills work, right? All the skills they're not going to be put into your context at the start of your session, right? All that is going to be taken is the formatter, right? Just this, right? So just this is going to initially be loaded so that when you ask Claude to do something that requires a skill, it's going to be able to take that from the description, right? For those people that are really hammered on like what the formatter does. So the formatter has the name, which is the name of the skill, the description, which is what the skill does. So for this is intake tagger. So anytime that someone submits something in your form, it's going to classify the client based on an industry. Now, what makes the formatter really important is the when to use. So use when reading a new lead or intake form. So the when to use is what allows Claude Code to then be able to pull out the remaining skills based off when it needs to use it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's why it's very few tokens per skill. You can show the tokens, bro. Go to Claude, start a new Claude session for us, and just /context. It will show you the context of all the skills and stuff. It will give you detail. In a new one, yes. /context. I use it a lot. It will this is how every session loaded with the context. See now.
So you can
This
see the
is
skill.
They're just 300 tokens, 150 tokens. This is nothing, bro.
Yeah.
I think it's because you just explained the
Yeah. So this impeccable is actually a design skill. That's why. Presentation skill, design skills. So you to summarize that this is the one I built on 50 skills. So if you combine all of this, it's nothing. Then we have the plugins, right? What even has more skills are Claude's own inbuilt principles and the rules. As you can see, MCPs. MCPs is even one of the things that has more personas and orchestrators. So these are memory files. These are default files, right? But now the skills, very little. So it's not that the whole skill is 300 tokens, just the front matter. That's what makes skills very good at the end of the day. Okay, skill creator, where's Superpowers? Okay, yeah, Superpowers. Yes,
you plugins, bro.
Oh yeah, right. So see, superpowers. They're all superpowers.
Nothing.
Plugin superpowers. Yeah. Anyways, so I wanted to talk about context routes. But this for GSD and context mode. So maybe next talk about it. But context route, right? So in a session, right? If you have a session, this is the accuracy, right? And this is when you start a session. The moment you start a session and you are, increasing your context window, right? Your accuracy of your output begins to drop, right? It begins to drop. Why? Because it's like as a human, right? Let's assume I'm talking to you, telling you what to do, or we're having a conversation, right? You're not going to be able to retain everything from the beginning of what I said up until the end. Let's assume I'm talking for an hour. You're only going to pay attention to the right moment at which, or maybe at the beginning of what I said and where I'm currently at, right? The way our minds, right? Just the way our focus, right? Our attention span. So the same way with AI, I don't know if any of you have tried this where maybe with ChatGPT, where you're having like a long conversation and then you start to find out that ChatGPT drops some really dumb responses. Like there was this, people will use make humor about it. There's this guy on IG that you can ask ChatGPT how many letters in the week have D. ChatGPT will say, oh, just 3 letters, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And like, what about Tuesday and Thursday? Oh, they don't have a D. And you spell it out, and then ChatGPT now spells it out with a D and says, you know what, you're right. Thursday does have a D. So why am I saying this? It's a bit off topic, but what I'm trying to say is in order to ensure that you get the best possible output accuracy from your AI, whenever you get to about 50% of your context window, right? Whenever you get to about 50% of your context window, do not take the conversation further, because the accuracy is just going to continually drop. Because for every instruction or every input that you're loading to the AI, it's also loading your previous conversations. So what we do is that there's a command called compact. So what compact simply does, it summarizes your entire conversation, right? All the way from here to here, right? And then starts it at a new conversation, with the first message being the summary or like the conclusion of your previous conversation. So it just gives you like a clean slate, but I'm going to put it that way. So a clean slate, that means you start in the beginning around here and you have the accuracy at 100. And then you continue prompting, going back and forth with the AI. The AI's accuracy is going to keep on dropping. And when you get to a point, like let's say 40%, 50%, then you compact it again. So that way you don't have what we call the context rot, right? So that's why Manoj said that, how is it possible that I have not even gone, where is it at? I've not even gone below 15%, right? So I was able to put all of this. And by the way, if you want to learn how to do this, you just do /status line, because that's what it is. It's a status line. And then you explain what you want. Like for me, I want to see the model name plus, you have to put the plus the directory I am in, my current directory, plus the time, valid time, plus context, my context percentage, right? Which is this, like in brackets, what I've used and what's left. I'm put this in the chat so you guys can get it. Plus tokens in and tokens out, right? The moment you click this and you click enter, you can add more things, right? You can add more things that you want. This is just going to show all of them in your status line, just like this. So I'm just going to copy this, put it in the chat. Okay, great. Great. So awesome. So where was I? Yeah. So there's a tool called context mode, which is going to compress the tools output and everything, reduce your context, which we're going to talk about later in maybe another class. But yes, let's go back to what I was saying. Go back to this. Okay, great. So what got added to the spec, diagrams, the runs, everything has been added. So now that we have everything, let me just let this out. We can move to the implementation plan. So let's move to the implementation plan. Now the implementation plan is now what we're going to use to build this out, right? So yeah. So invoking the writing plan skill. So the skill has been loaded, Superpowers writing plans, and then it's going to write the whole skill. Let me take this and, like I said, create a document. Remember, I always like doing this. Okay, great. Let's do the same. It's great. It's good to have, yes, I have the MD, right? I have the MD just like I showed you, but it's also good to have something that like this that I can just open anytime, and if I want to present or want to show it to someone, I just want to visualize what I've done. I don't have to go and start reading the MD like this. I can just create something that's visually pleasing and just have it run for me. So that's what I'm trying to do right here. Anyways, so it's writing the plans. Once it's done, we then implement. So we've done the main part of creating this app. The next part that would need my human touch is to test the app. So the main work is actually in the first part, which is planning, choosing the tools, choosing the architecture, choosing the framework, choosing anything that you want to do. And then the next part is building it out. So right now, I don't have to do anything. All I just need to say is run. And once it's done running, I test it, right? So I'm just going to let AI write the plan for this and then start implementing the plan. To implement the plan is going to spawn sub agents for this, right? So I hope from watching me build this, you understand how I got here. Because if you want to build something, it's the same path you're going to have to take, right? And you can also translate this to other projects of yours, other platforms, other builds, right? Yeah, I'm just going to let the plan work. Any more questions?
It was very helpful, bro. Like, I never think about my process like this. I just started using Superpowers. I thought it was for builders, but I wrote content and kind of things with Claude. But now I see, okay.
Yeah, okay.
So, do we do a next, like, part 2 of this workshop next week where we build it? Or we still have time?
I think once the plan has been written, I'm just going to send the agent off to build it, and then we can just call it a wrap. But I want you guys to be in the loop until the part of the implementation plan. Now, the implementation plan is going to be more technical, right? And not to scare anyone, but when I mean more technical, I mean for the agents, right? This is what the agent is going to use to sketch out the plan. So it's going to look a bit more technical than all these other things you're seeing. Like, it's literally going to tell the agent how to build it and what code to use, right? So scope check first is checking everything, then it starts building the plan. Yeah, I'm just going to have this one last. Yeah, I think we pretty much touched on everything. Now, another thing that I really want you guys to get, the UI is the final part, right? If you're ever building anything, let the UI be the last part, because UIs can always, you can always get a beautiful UI. You can always clone a beautiful website or a beautiful interface and then have the agent, rework it to your own taste and to your own brand identity. But the engine, you can't clone an engine, right? You can't clone a back end. That shit has to be authentic. That has to be you from the get-go. So I'm going to also I'll probably drop some other websites that you can use to get good UI, right? But the main part is this, right? So actually I appreciate everyone for tuning in. This is, like I said, this wasn't a presentation. I wasn't doing any slides or any webinar kind of stuff. This is just me hands-on, getting my hands dirty, building things out, right? So I hope you guys are able to take this out and actually build something of your own. So yeah, I'm just going to make this final presentation and then we can call it a wrap. So if I was to present this, if I was to show this to anyone, this is what I would show. Probably make it a bit more legible. Yes. A bit more legible for you guys. I guess it worked. Okay, great. Okay. So Content Studio, this is everything that we talked about. These are the goals, these are the non-goals. So this is what I can then show to anyone, or I can then walk people through. So the architecture, everything, right? All the way to the UI screens, the analytics, CDB. So this is everything, the data flows, right? All the way to the error handling, right? And what happens, the roles, testing each of them, the quality gates, right? Scheduler never publishes a post older than the missed window. The external integrations, the skills, these are all the skills, the brand brief, last 30 days, all of the skills have been put. The stack decision, this is what everything is going to be built on. It's going to be hosted locally on my system for solo use, no cloud needed, nothing. And these are some risk and the mitigation against the risk, the milestones. So right now we're doing this, then we'll start drafting, then we'll start the media part, then we'll start publishing, and then we'll just polish the UI, make everything look good. Like I said, the UI is always the last part. And after the UI, then we can then let's talk about the analytics. So yeah, Claude gave it the target of less than 4 weeks, but I have the max plan, so I don't intend to stay that long. Let Claude run this overnight, and by tomorrow it should be working. But yeah, guys, this is basically everything. Just want to show the implementation plans. Good. So this is the last part, right? This is the last part, and then we can call it a day. So it's done writing the implementation plan. Let me open it for you guys can see. So this is the implementation plan for agentic workers. Is that, let me just expand it. Yeah. This is the goal, set up agentic native. This is the architecture. This is the file structure that is going to code out. This is the first task. Do this. Second task, do this. The third task, do this. So it's actually instructing the AI on everything to do, right? So as you can see, task 3, install the dependencies. Task 4, configure drizzle. Task 5, define all the schemas, define all the tables for posts, the database and all of that stuff. You can see a lot of code here, right? Step 6, boot time migration. Step 7, brand brief mirror library. Task 8, get brand brief action. So for when the brand brief is empty, the questions to ask and all of that stuff. As you update brand brief, once you've gotten the brand brief. So like I said, you don't need to understand the code, but because you understand the high level, first run status, as you can see, brand brief form components for the form. So it has gone ahead to write all of these things down. And then this is how it's going to review it. It's going to review, has everything been added? Has everything working? Once it checks off everything, then we move on to the next phase of testing. So now the AI asked me question, as you can see, the plan is complete and saved to this place. 2 execution options. It recommended this option, sub-agent driven. Do you want me to dispatch a fresh agent per task? There are about 14 tasks. So for all those tasks, you're going to get an agent. The agent is going to run the task, is going to review the task before moving on. This helps for faster iteration. Each task gets a clean context, mistakes don't compound. So if there's a mistake on one side, it's just a particular task. It doesn't affect the remaining. Or do you want the inline execution, the same session, the same thing that is working like this, but task 1, task 2, task 3? I don't have that time because this is going to be slower, but I will be able to see every step. But with the sub agents, I'm not going to see any step. This agent, the master agent, the one I'm talking to, will create sub agents that I can't really see what they are doing. The sub agents will return all their results and outputs back to the main agent, and then the main agent will just combine everything and get back to me. So it's asking me for the approach, and I'll definitely go with sub agents approach. And then I fired everything off. So let's just see how it works. This is the last point. This is the last part that involves me as a human, right? Every other thing has already been handled. Agent-driven development has been kicked off. So it successfully loaded the skill, and now it's gonna kick them off. You're gonna see it happen here. So before dispatching the agents, the skill explicitly blocks starting on main without consent. Okay, all right. So it's asking me that actually create a different branch so that they all work like isolated, right? And I think I'll go with that part. So, and it's also recommended. So good. So Claude asked the question and answered, and I think it's going to kick it off. Once you kick it off, you can just call it a wrap. Or if you get rate limited, you just have to wait till your rate limit. And Manoj, as you can see, the context has gotten to 25%.
Yeah,
can see-
I was about to say that.
Yeah. So it's reading the skill on how to do that. And switch to a new branch. Let me
So now
expand.
it is creating new sessions with sub-agents, right?
Sorry, I didn't get that. What did you say?
We continue. I'll ask later.
Okay. So reading the skills to implement this, start this, so the agents are working. Okay, yeah, you can ask the question.
So I'm saying now this is dispatching sub-agents. These are like new sessions with proper
Yes.
content.
Yes.
Okay.
So they've started the task. So we're just going to wait for that. I'm just going to wait. I'll give you guys the feedback as it goes. Yeah, that is basically how we build stuff here. And like I said previously, we have actually set up the Slack channel. Going to send some invites to people so that we can always have build sessions like this. I'm building my own stuff. You're building your own stuff. we're sharing ideas just like we did today. Talked about, I wanted to use Unipath for the entire build, but now we have DocDB and we have the other one, Xerne, right? So that's what happens when, we have a community of people building and actually researching, right? If you're able to watch the video later on, you're going to understand that building is all about planning. It's all about the steps before the implementation, because you don't want to build something for a client. You don't want to build something that you want to use long term and then have to find out the errors in the future. You don't have to like check it out and see if things break in the future. It's not about the clean UI. It's about the engine that's working. So you need to take all the time to ensure that you've sorted out and you solidified the plan. Go ahead and do that, because everything rests upon that, right? And that's what's going to differentiate a vibe coded word product that someone just said, give me the best app, and someone like you that have figured out all the worst possible edge cases or the errors that could arise, and you went ahead to think about how to solve them in advance. So that's what differentiates people that websites get hacked because they don't actually plan and think about all the possible scenarios, than you that actually walk through all the life cycle. So yeah, I hope you've been able to take how to use superpowers most especially, and how to think in terms of plans and steps and architectures and data flows. With just this skill, if you're able to use the superpowers brainstorm skill, you can be an architect for any place, any system, AI, right? Someone will value your opinion because they know that you are able to see things from every angle.
I have a question here.
Okay, sure.
I installed GST and Superpower both. Now I see, because I'm not writing code, I'm just writing lots of different things like SEO, GEO kind of things. So told more about the GST and things today. I realized that those are like kind of similar things. That's why my Claude, because both are globally installed, and my Claude started getting confused. Like sometimes it is using GST, sometimes it is using superpowers. Now I see how you use superpowers. And so do I need GST, or how do you use both at a time, or it's project specific? How do you?
So when I want to use GSD, right, I rarely use GSD lately, because when I want to use GSD, there's a particular way I say it. If you notice, when I started this thing, I was like, I want us to be the context studio. Let's brainstorm, because the skill knows that it should trigger when it's a brainstorm session, right? Because you have to brainstorm before you plan and everything. But if your prompts are a bit like, if they are I won't say vague, but if they are kind of ambiguous, right? The AI just pick either or, right? Depending on what it fits. But if you're specific with your keywords and you tell it what to do, it knows what we should pick. So that's basically,
now I got it.
this is the best thing in the world. Trust me. Like once, like you see, I spent like 2 hours, right? I remember someone said like, oh, it takes so long. Like this is the work you have to put in, right? This is what you're actually being paid for, right? This is what when you want to create like businesses, create apps, this is where you put them the actual work. Now I can go and I can go about my day. I can just sacrifice 2-3 hours to make sure that you've written the best plan and let the AI run with it. And then you're confident.
What you did in 2 hours, bro, it took 10 people team and at least 2 weeks to get to the specs.
Yeah.
Without AI. This is how you sit together, create my robots and those kind of things. Remember last year? It was like 3 years ago.
So yeah, just to highlight like what Manoj is saying, this actual work, this spec document that I just created would have needed a team of project managers, I needed a team of architects, about a team of 10 different people with 10 domain knowledges, right? People from the database domain, people from the security domain. But now with Claude Code, I'm able to do it in 2 hours, something that I've taken at least a week or two. In 2 hours, I've been able to create it, and I've handed it over to the software development team, which is supposed to take another 1 to 2 months. But now I can get this thing done in 2 nights.
Overnight,
So,
yes.
But yeah, one night I'm going to test it. But that's how fast things can work. I'm thinking of maybe the next, I don't know, maybe not the next one, but in future sessions, we can actually build an app and run it on App Store or something. If you guys are willing to stay this long,
with this, like it will be a series of workshops.
Oh yeah.
And we can do end to end in one direction. And it was very frightening, bro. For me, like I work like this, brainstorm, plan, spec, then deliver, those kind of things. But I never worked with like this with superpowers and Claude Code before. I
Yeah.
feel like, well, this is common sense. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Most people don't think you have to do this much with AI. They just think like you just say, hey, build me the best app that does this and does that, and they walk away. And then
yep, yeah, let's go ahead, keep doing it. But and I just saw that I use Sonnet 4.6 because I'm on Pro plan. I'm just not the Max plan because I'm not writing code. So I see that when Opus was recommending, there was 98.5% was accurate. We're just saying, yes, let's go. Okay, add this thing. Very few things. Like
Yeah.
it was that damn smart. Like it was not going in left, right, or up or down. This is too good to see.
exactly. So I would advise anyone that's building anything, always start with plan. The plan.md. Then if you carry that plan and you come to Superbase and you brainstorm with that plan, it even makes it better. Right? I knew that whatever I was going to write on Excalidraw, the mirror board, I knew that no matter what I come up with, it's still going to have a very good quality. But if I actually took my time to build all the tech stack, I had to pick all of them right in front of you. I was able to plan all of that beforehand. We've had a way denser, more richer output, right? But nonetheless, it's exactly what I love doing. I can stay here till 2 a.m., right? Stuff like this. I want to also pass this on to you guys so can build apps, can build websites, can build systems, platforms. This one is just for me, but imagine, I know a lot of people need this type of tool. So imagine I was going to make this like for multi-users, right? It's just going to be one instruction, add the ability to sign up, add payment wall, subscribe, make people subscribe, give them access when their subscription is over, lock access, stuff like that. But right now, I'm building it for myself. Maybe in the future, I could say, okay, I want to have more people, right? But let me myself first. So
But
it's that
it's too good. Bro. Like in 2 hours, went from a thought on a Excalidraw to a very technical document. Wow, man. It's like, what else?
not just documents, but actual deliverables, like actual like artifacts, like
You can
this.
sell
Like,
it to teams, you can sell it to enterprises, you can sell it to
Yeah.
Apple, Amazon. There's no limit. Like, everybody's doing the work this way.
yeah, look at this.
Yeah.
So,
Good, man.
yeah,
My entire job as a product manager, be at this point, write this document. Like, this is my entire job. You did it within 2 hours without knowing about it.
yeah. So this is really beautiful. Like, this is it, man. So guys, thank you so much. I know I've taken most of your evenings, but this is always a very good session to like catch up and build stuff. I like that we didn't do much of like talking but more of showing. Right? So I hope you take this out and you fly with it. For those of us that joined that maybe had to leave, we understand, but you can always come back and watch the video. You can always book a call with us. Keep in touch. We'll see you same time next week.